Now, I just want to say right at the start of this video, I know when it comes to talking AI in Warhammer, I know when it comes to talking 3D sculpt, 3D printing and stuff, there is a bit of a spicy subject. I will say this right at the start. If you're going to comment on this video, I please implore you to listen to the entire video before you make a comment on it, just so you get the entire, well, I say argument or the entire subject that I'm going to cover, because there is a few aspects in here which I do think people don't understand, and I want to try and explain it. I want to put my viewpoint into this as well for those people who actually do care. So let's jump in and let's talk about this whole drama of GW and 3D sculpting. Now, this is not an actual recent thing. We've actually seen changes with this via GW's website in terms of previewing models, like the 360 camera. That's more or less gone now on the majority of the models, etc. But the big thing I want to talk about is what happened really a couple of weeks ago with the big reveal event. You know, we got Adepticon, we got the announcement of 11th edition, we got that cool CGI trailer, which I absolutely thought was awesome. Blood Angels fighting orcs and stuff. Great stuff. But on the back end of that, we always used to get like some pretty cool previews of models, and we just don't get that anymore. And this is where it goes into some rumors. Again, all rumors are lies. If you want to believe it, that Games Workshop are kind of, I want to say not panicking, but they're not giving the ammunition anymore to some 3D community people, because they're literally taking the models that they preview and turning them into STLs in the same day now with some of the software that's out there. That software is AI software, which they literally put in an image offline that they've previewed. We've seen this with other stuff. I'm going to get some examples in the background in just a second. They literally get like a 2D image. They put that 2D image into the AI software. It literally sculpts them. The model itself, yes, there's like a few touch-ups you need to do and stuff like that, etc., but it more or less makes the generic model right there for them, and then these 3D printing people can actually then put that model out in the STL community, and it's literally just a rip of that model that GW have just revealed that same day. And in the background, I actually just want to show you some examples on what I'm actually talking about. So you can see like the Red Terror model that was revealed at the Adepticon livestream event. A lot of people lost their minds. It looks fantastic. It looks amazing. It's going to be part of that brand new Kill Team box set, of course, which, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be the last release of 10th edition before 11th edition launches. Now, if we switch over to this image, this is from the 3D community. I say the 3D community, a certain aspect of the 3D community that are taking this stuff, getting the preview images, and literally ripping the models and making them like more or less in a day or two. And you can see that Red Terror right there. Yes, it's not like a one-for-one version of the GW model, but you can see what's happening now online when it comes to the 3D community, or should I say a small fraction of the 3D community and GW models. I think something even wilder from this is actually artwork which is being taken now. A part of that image, if you look right at the bottom, you can see some of the new Steel Legion stuff which GW announced, and in the announcement of the Steel Legion stuff, they literally only shown off the artwork. So with the way this software works now, you can literally take 2D actual just artwork and actually make a 3D model from that. One of the biggest things from this that I've seen is if we switch over to this image now with Perturabo that got revealed. Remember, I did a video with it. Perturabo's returning and stuff like that. It's like someone took this image and then they made a model from this image. So technically right now out there somewhere on the internet, you can actually get that artwork of Perturabo which GW put out in a model format. Multiple people sent me like images of the model that people have been printing off and stuff. I first saw it over on, well, someone linked it me on Reddit Iron Warriors, and the post got banned off the Iron Warriors subreddit because it was breaking rules and stuff like that. But it was on there. People out there printing Perturabo as the official artwork that GW put out. And again, as I previously mentioned, I think this is why Games Workshop now has kind of changed their preview approach, where they only show off a couple of models, like just like the Intercessor and the Orc Boy that we got on the back end of that 11th edition announcement, because they don't want to give the 3D community now, again, I keep saying the 3D community as a whole, a certain aspect of the 3D community a head start in that race against Games Workshop. And I can understand it from a GW point of view. Again, I'm not trying to shill for GW. They just don't want competition. They don't want to lose sales. It's a business at the end of the day. They need to make money, even though they're overcharging for their models. And you can actually have the argument that's why people are doing this, because GW are overpricing the models and they're pricing people out of the market. I can completely get that side of the coin. I can get that side of the argument. Where I stand on this, my opinion, and again, you know, opinion's like an asshole. Everyone's got one. I always say this, just because it's my opinion doesn't mean that it's your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. You can agree with me. It's entirely up to you. But what I see this as a whole is that when you rip a model like this Perturabo model or like the Red Terror and stuff like that, I don't think you're hurting Games Workshop. I don't think Games Workshop are really going to feel that dent in the side of their armor. What I personally think, the people that you are hurting the most are your local gaming hobby shops, because I've had this whole big debate now, this whole approach that over the past couple of years, really ever since the launch of 8th edition, where Games Workshop kind of exploded onto the marketplace and it's got more popular and popular, that 9 times out of 10, the GW shops that you used to go to as a kid no longer exist. They more or less switched from like the big shops they used to have to more of a street marketplace where people just come in and out. They want you in to buy the product, then out of the door, etc, 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 right? You don't really have a gaming space anymore. Like back in the day, I remember it. They used to go, it's like Monday was like 40k day, Tuesday was like Warhammer Fantasy, Wednesday was like for beginners and stuff like that to come in and learn the game, new armies and stuff like that. It was more like a community shop. It's not like that anymore. It's run like a proper corporation business, and that's why GW are getting the money that they are getting. So with that, a lot of these local hobby shops have been popping up, which I absolutely love, because this is where you go now to play the actual game itself. And I say the majority of these hobby shops, they rely on sales with Warhammer products because it's very, very popular. Again, there's definitely an argument that, you know, card games are one of the big sellers and stuff like that. But to the hobby shops that I visit around my area and that I favor, like 40k is their main selling product. That's how they survive. And if people really start taking money away from that local hobby shop, that hobby shop goes away. And then there's no place for you to play the game. Yes, you can have all these models, you print all these models out. I can have all these models and stuff like that. But where am I going to go and play the actual game itself? That is my big debate in this. And for someone to say, oh, Valrak, well, does that mean you're against 3D printing? Give me a second. I'm going to cut the video. I'm going to show you something, okay? No, I'm 110% all about 3D printing. To make your models look cool is what Warhammer is for me. And Games Workshop, I've said this from the start, don't really give you that option. Look at this, for example, right? This is my Black Templar Landraider. This is the base kit of the Black Templar. This is the base kit of the Landraider Redeemer kit. And the 3D community, the 3D artist, made this upgrade kit for this. And it's made this generic Landraider into an absolute centerpiece model, which GW would never do, right? They haven't give us the option for this type of stuff. It's the same with the models. My friend Stowe, I'll include his Instagram page if it bloody focuses. Again, that is the base Terminator model, but what we've done, a bunch of 3D bits on there. Shields, the tabards, the actual chest pieces itself, the cauldron at the top. If it focuses, like the bloody, the cape and stuff. I'm all about 3D printing. I support 3D printing bits and stuff like that. Archies Forge, I'll give them a shout out, right? They're absolutely bloody fantastic. This is not a video as like do not do 3D printing or anything like that. I'm just saying is that when it comes to like printing entire armies and stuff like that to try and get back at GW, I personally think it's not affecting GW. I personally think it's affecting the local hobby shop. But again, that's just my opinion. I'm not against 3D printing. I love 3D printing. I think it makes your Warhammer 10 times, a million times more cooler. But that's just my opinion. What's your opinion on it? Are you for this type of stuff? Are you for like getting the models and completely 3D printing an army? Again, I'm not going to shoot you down or anything. That's your prerogative, right? I can't even say the bloody word, right? That is how you feel. Maybe you can't afford Warhammer anymore, and this is the only way to get into it. I will say this as well at the end, like, because I always get questions like this, like when we talk about price increases and stuff, and people say, just get a 3D printer, Valrak, just buy this, buy that. For me, that is not an option because in my house, I have, you know, young kids and stuff. I have my children, and I don't really want 3D resin printers around here, right? I always see 3D printing as a hobby within a hobby, and it's just not something I just want to get involved in at this point. That's why I always go to like websites like Archies Forge and stuff and give them a shout out every time I can, because those guys produce some absolutely amazing 3D stuff. But anyway, that's my little chinwag on the subject. That's me explaining it, because a lot of people are like, well, I've been asking me what's going on. Why are GW not previewing models and stuff like that anymore, like they used to, Valrak? I think this is why. Again, I may be wrong. Maybe they just want to do it to try and tease us over the coming weeks so they have something to show off. But I will say this, I think this Monday thing of showing a model off is getting really boring really, really fast. Like next week, it's supposed to be, what, a single grot? It's like, come on, Games Workshop. Come on now. It's like, how long is this got to go on for? I'm kind of losing the hype for the box set. To be fair, for the Space Marine side, I've kind of lost the hype already, but that's going to be a separate video sometime this week. Anyway, I'm going off subject. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching, as always. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down below, and we can have a nice little chin wag down there, as we always do. See ya. Have a great day, and bye-bye.